From the national newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. The two pilots killed in Sunday night's collision involving an Air Canada Jazz jet on a New York runway have been identified.
A number of media outlets have identified one of the pilots as Antoine Forêt from Coteau-du-Lac, Quebec, southwest of Montreal. Toronto's Seneca Polytechnic has identified the other pilot as Mackenzie Gunther. A statement from the school says Gunther joined the Air Canada Express carrier Jazz Aviation immediately after graduating from Seneca in 2023. Both pilots were killed when their plane collided with a fire truck on a runway at New York's LaGuardia Airport Sunday night. Jason White, the Canadian Press.
The crash also left 41 people injured. Passengers on the Air Canada Jazz jet helped each other escape the wrecked plane through emergency exit doors. Joe was among those on board.
We felt with something, maybe like an emergency brake that was pulled or some kind of hard stop before we hit the fire truck in front of us. But prior to that, there was nothing out of the ordinary that I had noticed or felt. And honestly, what the pilots did there, I believe, saved many lives on that flight. And my heart's just broken for them.
Also injured was Quebec flight attendant Solange Tremblay. Her daughter says Tremblay was ejected from the jet and found by first responders 100 meters away from the wreckage, still strapped in her seat. From rolled steel to kitchen cabinets, Canadian businesses hit by targeted U.S. tariffs are struggling with the pressures of reduced access to the U.S. market and heightened competition at home. Daniel Drapeau, CEO of custom cabinet maker Morales, invested $43 million in recent years to ramp up capacity in what was a growing business until U.S. President Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on the sector.
We were ready to grow after all those crises, the COVID and the interest rates, inflation, and all this stuff. But now we're being hit by the fact that there is a surge. There is too much products coming from other countries.
Algoma Steel has been under a 50% tariff level since June. The hit has forced it to make tough decisions like speeding up the layoff of nearly 1,000 workers starting this week in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And Victoria-based stylist Dale Olson thinks the Premier of BC might want to look at his own style before dressing down others. Premier David Eby this month said Gavin Dew of the BC Conservatives had disrespected the legislature by wearing a hoodie while voting remotely on a private member's bill. Eby added Dew was dressed as if the vote interrupted his trip to the gym. Olson says Eby's criticism is a bit rich and could use some help with his own look.
It's slightly ironic that he gives people a hard time about their dress. His clothes don't fit. His jackets are too big. His shirts look saggy.
Dew has said he was still wearing traveling clothes from the previous day after his flight was delayed. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, James Reimer kept expecting the New York Rangers to put shots on net, but they rarely did. And by the end of last night's NHL game, the Ottawa Senators had allowed just 9 shots on goal in a 2-1 victory at Madison Square Garden. It was the fewest shots against in franchise history. It was the Rangers' lowest output since 1955 and the worst by any NHL team in more than 2 decades. Even more impressive, the Sens did this after losing 2 more players to injury. The Toronto Raptors were in Utah, where they scored a 143-127 win over the Jazz. RJ Barrett had 27 points and 6 assists for the Raptors, who will wrap up a 5-game road trip Wednesday in Los Angeles against the Clippers. Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 22 points as the Oklahoma City Thunder extended their winning streak to 12 games with a 123-103 win against the Philadelphia 76ers. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.